Graduate workers at the University of Maine have announced they intend to unionize. They gathered on campus today to ask UMaine's administration for a fair process as they move forward.
Connor Magliozzi brings us to Orono for more.
Show me what democracy looks like.
This is what democracy looks like.
Show me what a union looks like.
This is what a union looks like.
Graduate students at the University of Maine held a rally Friday afternoon as part of their effort to organize a union.
Come together out of our silos and join together, united with a common goal to make UMaine the best institution that it can be. I truly see this as an opportunity for UMaine to negotiate with workers and provide fair compensation that recognizes our humanity and reflects the immense amount of labor graduate workers put into this system.
We are full human beings working for this university, and we deserve to be treated and respected as such.
Graduate students cited issues such as low and inconsistent pay, a lack of health benefits, and their desire to have their voices heard.
I don't think I'd have to do a lot to convince most of you here that when we agree to do some amount of work, we expect to be paid the correct amount and on time.
Yeah.
Well, in my 4 years here, more semesters than not, I've had some issues with that.
The university employs around 1,000 graduate workers. The movement to unionize has approximately 500 signatures. Joining the workers were faculty, local leaders, and others to spread their support for the initiative.
There may be some in the university system that are hesitant to recognize a union. Well, they need to get over that.
Yeah.
We need grad students to have their voice recognized because we need that voice making things better for everyone.
In a statement, the university said, quote, "We very much value our graduate student workers as they are a vital part of the campus community. We recognize the right to unionize. The university will await the outcome of the election and at that time will have further discussions with our graduate students and or the appropriate union representatives." Connor Magliozzi, WABI, TV5 News, Oregon.